The Void Shadows Guild Hall fell silent as Servac entered the chamber. His 8-foot frame moved with silent grace despite the ceremonial armor that covered his pale blue skin. The most feared assassin in the Galactic Concordat rarely called full meetings, and when he did, it meant something big was coming. "We have received a contract," Servac announced, his voice soft yet carrying to every corner of the room. "The payment offered is 5 times our standard fee." Murmurs spread through the gathered assassins. Each member of the Void Shadows had killed dozens, if not hundreds, across countless worlds. They were the elite, the untouchable, the shadows that brought death to any target regardless of protection. Tilara, Servac's most trusted killer, stepped forward. Her crimson eyes narrowed with suspicion. What kind of target demands such payment? Servac touched a control panel, and a hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a bipedal species with varied skin tones, sparse fur on their heads, and surprisingly plain features. They looked fragile compared to most species in the Concordat. "These are humans," Servac explained. "They have recently made contact with the Concordat and established a diplomatic mission on Centauri Station. Our client wants the entire diplomatic team eliminated before they can form any alliances." The assassins studied the images with professional interest but little concern. The creatures looked weak. No natural armor, no claws, unimpressive musculature, and dull teeth that couldn't tear through much. "They don't look like much," said one assassin from the back. Servac's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of caution among his species. "There are rumors about their homeworld. They call it Earth. Some claim it's a death world." The room grew quiet again. Deathworlds were mostly considered myths, planets so harsh and deadly that it seemed impossible any intelligent life could evolve there. Most civilized species in the galaxy had evolved on gentle worlds with stable climates, minimal predators, and few natural disasters. "Surely that's exaggerated," Tilara said. "Look at them. They have no defenses." "Perhaps," Servac agreed, "but caution is still warranted. Our client's urgency suggests these humans may be more than they appear." He displayed more images, the human diplomatic team arriving at Centauri Station 2 cycles ago. At the front walked a female human with dark skin and short hair, dressed in formal attire. Behind her were 9 others, some in what appeared to be protective gear. "The target is Ambassador Diane Collins and her entire team. The client wants no survivors." Servac assigned roles with practiced efficiency. Tilara would leave the operation with 4 others. They would observe for 3 days, then strike when the humans were most vulnerable. As the meeting ended, one young assassin approached Servac privately. "Master, why such concern over these soft creatures? Even if their world is harsh, they've clearly adapted through artificial means rather than biological strength." Servac touched the young one's shoulder. "Mevran, remember the first rule of our guild. Respect all life before you take it. Underestimation leads to failure." The young assassin nodded reluctantly and left to prepare. Alone in the chamber, Servac reviewed the data again. Something bothered him about these humans. The available information on Earth was limited, but what he found disturbed him. Gravity 30% higher than most civilized worlds. Temperature variations that would kill most species. Atmospheric pressure that would crush the lungs of half the Concordat's members. And the radiation levels from their sun would cause cellular damage to most known species. If these humans truly evolved on such a world, they might be more dangerous than they appeared. "Computer, continue searching for information on planet Earth and human biology," Servac commanded. "Priority level 1. He had a strange feeling about this contract. In his 300 cycles of life, he had never failed a mission. But something told him these humans might be the greatest challenge the Void Shadows had ever faced. Tilara crouched in the ventilation shaft above the human quarters on Centauri Station. She had been watching them for 2 full cycles now, studying their patterns and weaknesses. The perfect time to strike would be during their rest period, which they called night. even on a space station with no natural day cycle. Team in position, she whispered into her neural communicator. 4 acknowledgments came back instantly. Her team was spread throughout the station, ready to eliminate all 10 humans simultaneously. Lara would take the leader, Ambassador Collins, herself. She readied the poison injector on her wrist. The toxin was deadlier than anything in the known galaxy. A single drop could kill a creature 10 times her size in seconds. Lara dropped silently into the ambassador's quarters. The human female lay sleeping on a flat surface, wrapped in some kind of fabric. So vulnerable. So easy. Lara moved closer and aimed the injector at the exposed neck. The human's eyes snapped open. What happened next shocked Lara to her core. The ambassador rolled away with speed Lara had never seen in any species except her own. Before Lara could adjust, Collins was on her feet in a defensive stance. "I was wondering when you'd make your move," the ambassador said calmly, as though being attacked in her sleep was a minor inconvenience. Lara lunged, aiming the poison injector again. The human dodged and struck back with surprising force. Pain shot through Lara's arm. Impossible. Her species had evolved on a low-gravity world, giving them superior strength compared to most. Team status. Lara hissed into her communicator while dodging another strike. "Target is awake and fighting back," came the first panicked response. "My target survived the toxin," reported another. "Need backup in Sector 4. All around the station, the carefully planned assassinations were failing. Lara could hardly believe it. The humans were faster, stronger, and more alert than any prey should be. The door to the ambassador's quarters slid open, and a male human entered. Lara recognized him as Zach Powell, one of the security officers. Blood ran down his arm where Lara's teammate must have struck with the poison injector. "You okay, Ambassador?" he asked, seeming unconcerned about his injury. "Fine, Zach. How are you still standing?" "That was Next 9 poison," Collins replied, keeping her eyes on Lara. Powell shrugged. "Burns like hell, but I've had worse hangovers. Kate's got the other one cornered in the mess hall." Lara couldn't process what she was hearing. Next 9 was fatal to every known species. This human should be dead, not standing and making jokes about it. She activated her emergency teleport beacon. This mission was compromised. They needed to retreat and replan. Back at the guild hall, the 5 assassins gathered in Servac's private chamber. Their failure was unprecedented. "Explain," Servac demanded, his voice dangerously quiet. Lara stepped forward. "They knew we were coming. They were prepared. And she struggled to find the words. "They're not normal." Powell took a full dose of Next 9 directly into his bloodstream and was still fighting. Servac's 4 eyes widened. "Impossible. I saw it myself." And the female named Kate Miller threw Vexenor across a room. "He weighs 3 times what she does." Servac turned to his data terminal, which had been gathering information on Earth. "The computer has found more data on their world. It's worse than we thought." The screen displayed readings that made the assassins step back in shock. "These can't be right," whispered Mevran. "No species could evolve in these conditions." "But they did," Servac said grimly. "Earth is officially classified as a Class 12 death world. The humans evolved alongside thousands of predator species. Their planet regularly experiences disasters that would wipe out civilization on our worlds." He enlarged an image of Earth's gravity and atmospheric composition. They'd breathe oxygen at concentrations that would be toxic to us. Their bones and muscles developed under crushing gravity. Lara looked at the wound on her arm, where Ambassador Collins had struck her. "They're not just diplomats, are they?" "No," Servac said. "I believe we've gravely underestimated what it means to be a Deathworlder. We need to learn everything we can about these humans before we try again." As the briefing ended, none of the assassins noticed the small drone floating in the corner of the room. transmitting everything back to Kate Miller's datapad on Centauri Station. Servac stared at the holographic display of planet Earth, turning it slowly to examine every detail. The more he learned about this world, the more it terrified him. No member of the Void Shadows had ever encountered a species from a true Deathworld before. "Play the educational file again," he ordered. The screen shifted to show footage taken from human historical archives. The images showed Earth's natural disasters, massive storms with wind speeds that could strip flesh from bone, waves taller than buildings crashing into coastlines, mountains exploding with molten rock, and huge sections of ground shaking until cities crumbled. "And they just live with this?" Mevran asked, his voice barely a whisper. "They don't just live with it. They thrive despite it," Tilura said. She had been studying human biology for days now. "Look at this." She pulled up medical scans of human anatomy. Their skeleton is internal but incredibly dense. Their muscle tissue can tear and repair itself stronger than before. And their nervous system includes a pain suppression mechanism that activates during danger. Kazurvac nodded. That explains why Powell could function after being poisoned. Their bodies evolved to keep fighting even when damaged. The data continued to paint a frightening picture. Humans could survive temperature ranges that would kill most species. They could go days without water and weeks without food. Their immune systems fought off millions of microscopic attackers daily. "What about this thing they call adrenaline?" asked another assassin. Tilara brought up more data. "It's a chemical their bodies produce during stress. It increases their strength, speed, and aggression temporarily. They become stronger when attacked." Mevran said in disbelief. "That's terrifying." Kshurvac finished for him. Meanwhile, on Centauri Station, Ambassador Collins and her team reviewed the data from their spy drone. "They're finally figuring out what they're dealing with," Kate Miller said with a slight smile. She cleaned her pistol as she spoke, her movements precise and practiced. Jason Rivera, the ambassador's assistant, looked up from his datapad. "Should we be concerned? They know more about us now." Ambassador Collins shook her head. "Knowledge doesn't equal capability. Their biology limits them. They evolved on a world with 1/3 our gravity and no predators. Their bones are light, their muscles weak by our standards." "Still," Dr. Alan Garcia said as he treated the wound on Zach Powell's arm, "they're extremely intelligent, and that poison would have killed most humans." Powell winced as the doctor applied a regenerative gel to his wound. "Good thing I spent those years building up immunity to various toxins when I worked border security." Lisa Ortiz entered the room, carrying fresh data. "Ambassador, I've got the files on the client who hired the Void Shadows." "Tell me," Collins said. "The transmission originated from the edge of Harvester territory. It seems they don't want our alliance with the Concord app to proceed." Eric Summers, the security team lead, stood up straight. "The Harvesters. I thought they were just rumors." "Very real," Collins replied, "and very dangerous. They've been picking off outer colonies for decades. They consume everything on a planet before moving to the next. And they're afraid of us," Kate said. "That's interesting." Back in the Void Shadows Guild Hall, Servac made a decision. "We need more information. Tilara, I want you to attend the diplomatic reception tomorrow. The humans are holding an event to showcase their culture to the Concordat representatives." "You want me to attack them in public?" Tilara asked, surprised. "No. I want you to observe. Learn. We need to understand not just their physical capabilities, but how they think." Tilara nodded. The mission had become about more than just the contract. The existence of humans changed everything the assassins thought they knew about life in the galaxy. As she prepared for her infiltration, Tilara couldn't shake the feeling that the humans already knew she would be there. These Deathworlders were proving to be the most dangerous prey the Void Shadows had ever hunted. The Grand Hall of Centauri Station gleamed with decorative lights as representatives from 12 species mingled at the human cultural reception. Tilara moved through the crowd in disguise, her skin color altered to match the blue-green shade of the Melnax traders. No one gave her a second glance. She spotted Ambassador Collins at the center of the room, speaking with the Concordat's High Minister. The human woman wore formal attire and smiled warmly as she talked. She looked so harmless now, nothing like the fighter who had broken Tilara's arm 3 days ago. Earth's atmosphere contains oxygen at levels that would be toxic to many of your species, Collins was explaining. Our bodies evolved to use it as fuel for our cells. The High Minister's eye stalks waved in fascination. And these natural disasters you described, your people simply rebuild afterward. We adapt, Collins said. Humans have always faced challenges. It's shaped who we are. Tilara moved closer, pretending to examine a display of Earth artifacts. There were images of human cities built near active volcanoes, homes constructed to withstand hurricane-force winds, and underwater settlements that could rise and fall with tsunami waves. Nearby, the human security officer Eric Summers was entertaining a group of Concordat military officials with stories about Earth's predators. Great white sharks can smell a drop of blood from miles away, he said. Lions can bring down prey 3 times their size. But the most successful predator on Earth is actually tiny. The dragonfly. It catches its target 95% of the time. The officials looked impressed but confused. Why study these creatures if they're so dangerous? To learn from them, Summers said simply. The best way to survive is to understand. Tilara found his words disturbing. These humans didn't just endure their deadly world. They studied it, learned from it, and used that knowledge. Suddenly, the station's alarms blared. The lights shifted to emergency red. Breach in Section 12. A station officer shouted. Unknown hostiles. Tilara watched in amazement as the human delegation transformed. Their friendly, diplomatic demeanor vanished, replaced by focused alertness. They moved with perfect coordination, securing exits and checking weapons that had been concealed under their formal wear. Looks like your friends decided not to wait for your report, Ambassador Collins said, suddenly beside Tilara. The human's eyes were hard as stone. Tilara froze. How did you? Your disguise is good, but your movement patterns give you away. Plus, we've been tracking your biosignature since you arrived. Collins tapped her earpiece. Kate, status. 5 assassins with advanced weaponry. Kate Miller's voice replied through the ambassador's comm. Not Void Shadows. Different group. Heavily armed. Tilara was confused. Not her guild. Who else would attack the humans? The answer came moments later as 5 figures in glossy black armor burst into the hall. They carried plasma rifles unlike anything Tilara had seen. The crowd scattered in panic as the attackers opened fire. Eric Summers moved with shocking speed. He grabbed a decorative metal tray and hurled it across the room. The improvised weapon struck one attacker's weapon, knocking it off target. The plasma blast hit the ceiling instead of the Concordat minister. Tilara watched in disbelief as the human security team engaged the armored attackers. Kate Miller dodged energy beams that should have been impossible to avoid. Her reflexes beyond anything Tilara had seen in her centuries as an assassin. Even more shocking was Zach Powell. Still recovering from the poison, he tackled one attacker with such force that both crashed through a reinforced wall panel. Who are they? Tilara asked, finding herself pressed against a wall beside Ambassador Collins, who had drawn a small weapon. Harvester Advance Team, Collins replied, firing with precision at an attacker. They want to stop this alliance at any cost. The battle lasted less than 2 minutes. When it ended, all 5 attackers were down, and the humans stood victorious. They were breathing hard, some bleeding from wounds, but none had fallen. Tilara had seen enough. These Deathworlders weren't just physically superior. They were warriors unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. Tilara knelt before HFY in the guild hall, her report complete. The chamber was silent as the guild master processed what he had just heard. You're certain these were Harvester agents? HFY finally asked. Yes, Ambassador Collins identified them immediately. The humans knew they were coming. Sirvak's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, and the humans defeated 5 armed harvesters without losses. Lara nodded. Their reaction time was unnatural. They moved like they were expecting the attack, and their physical capabilities. She paused, remembering Powell smashing through the wall panel. I've never seen anything like it. Mevran, who had been listening from the side, stepped forward. Master, I've discovered something else about humans. They call it adrenaline rush, a survival mechanism that activates in danger. He displayed new data on the screen. When threatened, their bodies flood with chemicals that increase strength, speed, and pain tolerance. Some records suggest humans can temporarily lift objects 3 times their normal capacity under this influence. So they become stronger when we attack them? Another assassin asked. Essentially, yes, Mevran confirmed. Sirvak rose from his seat and walked to the data terminal. Our client lied to us. The harvesters didn't hire us to eliminate a simple diplomatic team. They hired us to test the humans' capabilities. We've been used, Lara realized. Indeed. Sirvak's voice hardened. And now I understand why. Look at this. He displayed a star chart showing harvester territory and recent expansion. The harvesters consume worlds. They'd been moving through the outer systems for decades. But here, he pointed to a section of space. They suddenly changed direction 3 cycles ago. What's there? Lara asked. Nothing of value, but it's the direction from which the humans first approached Concordat space. The implications were clear. The harvesters feared humans enough to avoid their sector entirely. Meanwhile, in the medical bay of Centauri Station, Dr. Alan Garcia treated a wounded Concordat minister. The alien watched with fascination as the doctor worked. Your hands are so steady, the minister said. Most species would be shaking after such violence. Dr. Garcia smiled gently. On Earth, doctors work through earthquakes, hurricanes, even war zones. We learn to stay calm. Nearby, Ambassador Collins met with the Concordat's High Council in emergency session. The attack had changed everything. We were hoping for a more peaceful introduction, Collins said, but now you've seen what we face. The harvesters have been consuming worlds for generations. Earth's long-range scouts detected their pattern years ago. Why would they fear humans? Asked one council member. Because we evolved to survive threats, including apex predators, Collins explained. The harvesters are predators themselves. They recognize another predator species when they see one. In another section of the station, Kate Miller and Eric Summers interrogated one of the captured harvester agents. The creature's exoskeleton gleamed under the bright lights. Why attack a diplomatic reception? Summers demanded. You killed 3 Concordat civilians. The harvester remained silent until Kate slammed her hand on the table. The creature flinched. You move wrong, it finally said in broken Concordat standard. Too fast. Too strong. Not natural. We're perfectly natural, Kate replied. Just not from your kind of world. Back in the Void Shadows Guild Hall, Sirvak made a decision that would break thousands of years of guild tradition. We're withdrawing from the contract, he announced. Lara was shocked. Master, we've never abandoned a contract in the guild's history. We've never faced Deathworlders before, Sirvak replied. The harvesters used us. They wanted to learn about human capabilities without risking their main forces. He looked at the gathered assassins. More importantly, I believe the humans may be the only defense against what's coming. The harvesters won't stop with outer colonies. They'll consume everything. Lara stood, her decision made. I wish to make contact with the humans, not as an assassin, but as an ally. Sirvak nodded slowly. Be careful, Lara. These humans are dangerous beyond measure. But they may be the galaxy's only hope. Ambassador Collins stared at the alien assassin standing before her in the secure meeting room. 2 days ago, Lara had tried to kill her, Now she was offering an alliance. "Why should I trust you?" Collins asked, her voice calm but firm. Kate Miller stood nearby, her hand resting on her weapon. Eric Summers watched from the corner, his eyes never leaving T. Lara. "You shouldn't," T. Lara replied honestly. "But the Harvesters are the greater threat. They've consumed 23 worlds in the past cycle. Your world would be next if they weren't afraid of you." "Afraid of us?" Jason Rivera asked from his position beside the ambassador. T. Lara nodded. "The Harvesters avoid predator species. Most intelligent life in the galaxy evolved as prey. Their worlds were gentle, their threats minimal. But humans..." She paused. "You evolved alongside predators. You became predators yourselves when needed." Collins considered this. "We're omnivores, not pure predators. We can be either. That's what makes you more dangerous," T. Lara said. "You can think like prey or predator. You understand both." The door opened, and Dr. Garcia entered with a datapad. "Ambassador, I completed the analysis of the Harvester physiology. They're a hive-based species with specialized roles. The ones that attacked us were soldier class." He displayed images of the Harvester's internal structure. "Their communication system is chemical-based. They share information through pheromone exchanges." T. Lara leaned forward with interest. "This is new information. The Void Shadows have never captured a live Harvester before." "We didn't just capture one," Kate said with a slight smile. "We interrogated it." Meanwhile, in deep space, a massive Harvester vessel approached the edge of Concordat territory. Inside its control chamber, the Harvester Queen communicated with her advisors through chemical signals. "The Deathworlders have made contact with the Concordat," one advisor reported. "They know of our presence." The Queen's massive form shifted. "The prey species are weak. They will fall as they always do. But these humans..." Her chemical signals conveyed deep concern. "They evolved on a Class 12 world. Their threat level is maximum. The Assassin Guild failed to eliminate them," another advisor noted. "As expected," the Queen replied. "We needed to understand their capabilities. Now we know they are as dangerous as we feared. We must accelerate our plans." Back on Centauri Station, the human team reviewed the information Lara had brought about the Void Shadows contract. "So the Harvesters paid the Assassins to test us," Zach Powell said, still looking somewhat pale from the lingering effects of the poison. Lara nodded. "They wanted to assess your threat level without engaging directly. When we failed, they sent their own agents. And they'll send more," Lisa Ortiz added. She had been analyzing communication patterns around the station. "I've detected unusual signal traffic at the edge of the system. Something big is coming." Ambassador Collins turned to T. Lara. "If what you're saying is true, we need to prepare the Concordat for war. Many of their species have never faced this kind of threat." "They haven't," T. Lara confirmed. "Most evolved on peaceful worlds with stable environments. Their bodies and minds aren't built for conflict like yours are." "Then we'll have to show them how to fight," Eric Summers said firmly. T. Lara studied the humans with new eyes. When she had first seen images of them, she thought they looked weak and soft. Now she understood that their unassuming appearance was perhaps their greatest advantage. Nothing in their physical form hinted at the incredible durability and adaptability that lay beneath. "There's something else you should know," T. Lara said. "HFY, our guildmaster, has called a full assembly of the Void Shadows. For the first time in our 1,000-year history, we're considering breaking a contract." "Why would he do that?" Collins asked. "Because he believes the humans are the only species capable of stopping the Harvesters," T. Lara replied. "And because he's afraid of you." The humans exchanged glances. They had never wanted to bring war to the Concordat, but it seemed war had found them anyway. Earth had prepared them for this moment, through millions of years of evolution on a world that tried to kill them every day. The Deathworlders were ready. The main council chamber of Centauri Station was filled beyond capacity. Representatives from all 12 Concordat species sat in nervous silence as Ambassador Collins stood at the center. Beside her stood Lara and 3 other members of the Void Shadows who had defected to the human side. The Harvester fleet will reach this station in less than 6 days, Collins announced. They have never been stopped before, but they have also never faced humans before. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Many had witnessed the humans' abilities during the attack at the reception, but fear still dominated the room. How can we possibly defend against them? Asked the Melnax trade minister. Our species are not warriors. We have limited weapons, limited training. Collins nodded in understanding. We don't expect you to fight like humans. We each have different strengths. She gestured to Ben Cooper, the human engineer who had been quiet until now. He stepped forward with a data display. This is how humans survived Earth, Cooper said, not just with physical strength, but with adaptation and technology. He showed designs for modified shield generators, emergency response systems, and evacuation protocols. Your species built beautiful technology for peaceful purposes. We can adapt it for defense. The Concordat representatives looked at the designs with growing interest. The humans weren't asking them to become warriors. They were showing them how to use their existing strengths in new ways. Meanwhile, on the human vessel USC Defiance that had just arrived in the system, Captain Olivia Martinez briefed her crew. The ship wasn't large by Concordat standards, but it contained technology specifically designed for fighting in space. The Harvesters have never faced weapons designed by Deathworlders, Martinez told her crew. Earth's history of warfare has prepared us for this moment. One of the crew asked, Captain, is it true the Void Shadows assassins are now working with us? Martinez nodded. 4 of their best have joined our side, including their top operative, Lara. They've provided valuable intelligence on Harvester weaknesses. Back in the Void Shadows Guild Hall, Servac faced growing dissent. Half of his assassins wanted to honor the contract with the Harvesters. The other half, led by Mevran, argued for supporting the humans. The contract is sacred, argued one elder assassin. We have never broken our word. And we have never faced extinction before, Mevran countered. The Harvesters won't stop with the Concordat. Eventually, they will come for us too. Zervac raised his hand for silence. I have made my decision. The Void Shadows will stand with the humans. There were gasps and protests, but Zervac continued. I have studied Earth's history. These humans have fought thousands of wars against each other. They've developed tactics and strategies we cannot imagine because our worlds never demanded such things. He displayed footage of human special forces training exercises. They prepare for battle through practice. They create problems for themselves to solve. They think 14 steps ahead. The guild members watched in silence as humans ran combat drills, moved through obstacle courses, and practiced with weapons. Even on their own planet, humans created artificial challenges to overcome. On Centauri Station, Lara watched Kate Miller and Eric Summers train a group of Concordat security officers. The aliens were struggling to keep up with the pace. Don't worry about matching our speed, Kate was saying. Focus on using your natural abilities. The Trexians have excellent vision. You'll be our spotters. The Melnax have multiple limbs. You'll handle complex equipment. Lara approached Ambassador Collins, who was reviewing defense plans. Your people are natural teachers, she observed. Collins looked up. On Earth, we had to pass knowledge quickly to survive. Teaching others became instinctive. The other assassins want to know why you trust me, Lara said quietly. After I tried to kill you. Collins smiled slightly. Another human adaptation. We recognize when former enemies can become valuable allies. As the station prepared for war, the humans continued to surprise their new allies. They didn't sleep much. They worked tirelessly. And strangest of all to Lara, they remained hopeful in the face of overwhelming odds. Perhaps that, she thought, was the most powerful adaptation of all. The Harvester fleet appeared at the edge of the Centauri system, like a dark cloud blotting out the stars. 50 massive ships, each carrying thousands of soldier-class Harvesters, moved toward the station with steady purpose. On the bridge of the USC Defiance, Captain Olivia Martinez watched the enemy approach. Her ship, though small compared to the harvester vessels, stood ready alongside a hastily assembled defense fleet. "They're following the exact pattern we predicted," she said to her tactical officer. "The harvesters have never needed to change their strategy before. They've never faced real resistance." Across the comms, Ambassador Collins' voice came through. "All Concordat ships, remember your positions. Follow the humans' lead." Inside Centauri Station, Collins stood in the command center with T. Lara and HFY at her side. The Void Shadows Guildmaster had arrived with 30 of his best assassins just hours before. "The Queen will be on the center vessel," HFY said, pointing to the largest harvester ship. "She never expected to fight. She only comes to consume." Lara checked her weapons nervously. "I've killed many beings, but never fought in a war before." Kate Miller smiled grimly. "Humans have fought wars since we could pick up sticks. Trust us on this." Outside, the harvester ships launched their first wave of attack vessels. Thousands of small, fast ships swarmed toward the station and defense fleet. "Now," ordered Captain Martinez. The USC Defiance fired what appeared to be a simple projectile. It detonated in the middle of the harvester swarm, releasing an electromagnetic pulse that disabled hundreds of ships instantly. "EMP successful," Martins reported. "Phase 2, begin." The Concordat ships moved in precise formation, using tactics the humans had taught them over the past week. Each species used their natural advantages: the quick reflexes of the Traxians, the mathematical precision of the Keldari, the multitasking abilities of the Melnax. On the main harvester ship, the Queen raged as her first wave faltered. "Impossible. How are these prey fighting back?" Her advisors had no answers. Nothing in their experience had prepared them for enemies who could anticipate their moves and counter them effectively. "The Deathworlders taught them," one advisor finally said. "The humans have altered the equation." Meanwhile, inside Centauri Station, Zach Powell and Eric Summers led a team of mixed humans and aliens to repel harvester boarding parties. The humans moved with practiced efficiency, their bodies functioning at peak capacity under stress. The aliens fought alongside them, following the strategies they had been taught. Lara killed 3 harvesters in quick succession, using techniques she had learned from Kate Miller. "They're not adapting," she called out. "They keep using the same attack pattern." "That's their weakness," Powell replied as he fired his weapon. "They evolved as a hive. They never needed to adapt quickly as individuals." In space, the battle continued. The USC Defiance took heavy damage, but kept fighting. Captain Martins directed her ship directly toward the Queen's vessel. "All power to forward shields," she ordered. "Prepare the boarding teams." The human ship smashed through the harvester vessel's outer defenses, creating an opening for Special Forces teams to enter. Among them were Ben Cooper and Dr. Alan Garcia, bringing a specially designed bioweapon that would affect only the Queen's pheromone system. As the battle reached its peak, Ambassador Collins sent a message to all Concordat ships. "This is humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not just our strength, but our knowledge of how to fight when the odds seem impossible." The Harvester Queen felt something she had never experienced before as human soldiers breached her chamber: fear. For millennia, her species had consumed worlds without resistance. Now she faced creatures who had evolved on a planet that tried to kill them daily, who had fought countless wars among themselves, who had learned to survive against all odds. "What are you?" she asked as the humans approached. Captain Martinez, leading the assault team, answered simply, "We're humans. We come from Earth, and we're here to stay." 3 hours later, the battle was over. The Harvester fleet was in retreat, their queen captured, their forces scattered. The Concordat had survived, protected by the Deathworlders who had taught them how to fight. As the cleanup began, Lara found Servac staring out a viewport at the damaged but victorious human ship. "I understand now," the Guildmaster said quietly. Why even the most feared assassins flee when Deathworlders show up. It's not just their strength. It's because they've mastered something we never had to learn. What's that? T. Lura asked. How to face impossible odds and still believe they can win.